What's the difference between you loving your partner and loving yourself? Because you have sexual relations with both, but you can't be doing that 24/7 with your partner when you're doing it with yourself.
Good question. Obviously, the love of your partner involves, there's two people involved in this transaction, not one anymore. The whole idea, like, so when you get to the soul union state, you will never masturbate. Do you understand? Not that. So on Earth, you can get into a soul union state. Right? So I'm saying on Earth, you can get into a soul union state where the two of you are joined together as a soul. In that state, each of you will never masturbate. Why would you need to? Like, if your emotions are passing through them and their emotions are passing through you, it's an automatic. And I don't mean masturbate when you're during a sex act or something. I mean by yourself. I mean having sex by yourself. Because both of your emotions will be in union. All of your emotions, including your sexual emotions, will be in union. So that means that you'll be actually feeling them at the same time as the other person. Right? So there will be no transaction, in fact, that will be by yourself. So even just masturbation, for example, in the sex act, that is a separation of this ideal condition. Now, I'm not saying you can't masturbate, because of course you can. If you can't touch yourself, then nobody else should be allowed to touch you, including your partner. Agreed? So what I am saying is that as you grow in your sexual desire for each other, the desire for release of some kind, which is usually tagged into other emotions that need to be healed, will diminish over the same time. So you actually get to the point when you desire your soulmate in a complete way. Even if you're not with her, you will probably not masturbate again.
So is masturbating actually hurting yourself?
No.
It's getting a sexual release without... It's some sort of sexual emotion release.
It is an emotional release, but it just depends on what emotions you're dealing with and how you're dealing with them. If you're using masturbation to deny an emotion within you, in other words, if you're using masturbation to run away from being unloved, then that is hurting yourself. But if you're using masturbation to trigger that emotion, then you're no longer hurting yourself. Can you see the difference? Yeah. So with all of these things to do with sexuality, we can use sexual things with ourselves or our partner in order to work through the issue emotionally, or we can use them as a denial tool to run away. Now, sex is one of the biggest denial tools that the mankind has. You have to agree with that, right? How many times do we, it's like eating. How many times do you go out and get some food when you feel an emotion? For most people, there's a big link between those two things. It's the same for many others with regard to sex. There's a huge link between the desire for sex and the denial of emotion. The key is to use the sexual act to access the emotion. So like, after you masturbate, do you feel sad? If you feel sad, then it's because there's an emotion of unloved, unwanted, I have to do it to myself, nobody else wants to do it to me, all those kind of things, right, that are inside of you. Allow yourself to access those emotions now, feel those. When you masturbate, do you feel shame? Well, if you feel shame, then the same thing applies. Go into the emotion. How does it, how does that emotion feel? Feel the heat of shame pass through you. You know, when you masturbate, do you think of your mother? Some people do, right? So straight away. What's that? I didn't get that. You've got to repeat it.
I said the Queen.
Whatever turns us on, eh? In that kind of situation.
Royal love.
So in that kind of situation, though, there's an attachment between sex and my mother that I have not healed. Does that make sense? Or in that case, the Queen. Might be a feeling of power. But whatever it is, whatever we're thinking of or feeling associated with the sex, that is linking us to the emotion that's unhealed. This is why sex can be such a powerful tool for you to use. Pardon. To actually access the emotions that we're denying within ourselves. It was also a very, very powerful tool to deny the emotions inside of yourself. And this is why many people, and particular men, have a habit of actually using sex as a tool of denial. So my suggestion is not to do that, but to actually use sex as a way of accessing the emotion. So when it gets back to your question about masturbation, if you're loving yourself to the exclusion of your partner, then you're no longer loving yourself or your partner. There's got to be an emotion inside of yourself that is driving that action. Allow yourself to feel that emotion, whatever that is. Discuss that emotion with your partner if you've got one. If you're by yourself and you're masturbating, well, that's a different matter. You obviously are not yet connected to the soul part of love, but that's fine. You're allowed to not be. We're all works in progress. Do you follow me?
Yep.
But allow yourself to look at the emotion inside of that. What's the emotion? What drives it? What fantasies are being fueled or fueling that desire to masturbate? Allow yourself to look at those fantasies. Allow yourself to feel them. They'll all be linked to injuries, usually, within your past. Allow yourself to access them. Allow yourself to be sexual and access these emotions, because they are all emotions that need to be healed. The truth is, in the pristine state, and none of us are there, but when we get to the state of, that's my subject, when we get to the state of at one-ment with our soulmate, what will happen is, I will never have a sexual desire that she cannot feel, or that isn't in the same intensity that she hasn't. And that's a wonderful place to be. And that's the ideal. And all we're doing is working towards that ideal. So allow sex to be a method, just like there's other methods of working towards that ideal.